We're recording.
Perfect. All right, so anybody have any announcements?
Let's see, last week I was at the Mid-Atlantic chapter of Medical Librarians Association. Actually, it was Sunday when I gave my koha talk. I only had 16 minutes, did it in 13. I only did it once.
Right on.
Well, no one was recording it, I think. Anyway, we had about 24 people there.
You missed my laughter because I had muted myself inadvertently.
Oh.
I know that Bywater has the Utah Koha Summit coming up on the 18th of October. I'm going to be there. I don't know if anybody else is. I know actually Bob's going to be there. Jesse will be there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Todd will be there.
Oh, okay. Any other announcements? All right. So the next thing on the agenda is conference wrap-up. So we talked a little bit about this at the board meeting. We've got a conference committee meeting coming up after this meeting. We've got $28 responses to the survey link that I sent out. And we've got a good net promoter score. I explained the net promoter score to the people at the board meeting. It's that thing that you see on a lot of surveys that'll say, would you recommend this business, event, whatever, to somebody else? And the best scores are 9 and 10. And there's a formula they use to figure out what the score is. We have a score of 57, which anything above 50 is considered good. And the worst companies, the worst scores are negative numbers, and they are usually cable TV companies. So we're doing much better than cable TV.
One thing with regard to the survey, George, you had indicated that the survey mechanism was going to send out a reminder to people that hadn't done the survey yet?
Yes, and it should have done that 7 days after I sent out the first link. So that reminder should have gone out Monday.
Okay, I'm not sure that it did because I didn't get one and I hadn't completed the survey yet.
Okay. I can look into that. I can make a note to look into that. I actually have SurveyMonkey open right now. Email invitation 1. Yeah, I can see that it's been sending thank yous to people that have finished the survey, but I don't see that it's sent the reminder email. So I'll send it again. Almost all of the comments were positive. There were some people that said the one comment that seemed to be consistent is the basic things were too basic. Some people said the basic things were too basic, and other people said the basic things were too complicated. So there was a little bit of that. Like the basic SQL was too easy, And then other people said the basic SQL was too hard. They
Well,
lost me after the first sentence.
it was kind of both, because it started off at one level and then just skyrocketed to this other level with this really complicated join and all this other stuff. So having been in that session, I can see why that was
Okay.
Why that was stated.
I guess what else did we talk about the other day about conference follow-up? We had a good turnout. The other comment that came up was people wanted more conference and less workshop, and other people said they thought the workshop days were the best part of it. So it was kind of, the typical kind of stuff, and I'll share the survey information with the conference committee today, and I'll send out the follow-up reminder.
The other thing we talked about was starting next year, soliciting volunteers now, because we're going to start our work for next year now, because we have that timeline that we had established, and we're going to start to solicit proposals very shortly, so that we can have an idea of, actually we can have a location selected. I think the timeline says by March or April, which is several months shorter than this year's time frame was.
Right. That's the plan, is to have a location. I think the spreadsheet, Lizette, says by February, right?
Yeah, I think by the end of February we'll announce it.
Yeah, we'll have a location picked.
Yeah, and so if you are interested in hosting or in joining the conference committee, you are welcome to come to the meeting today. We're going to be talking about our wrap-up and what we learned, and it might be a good way for you to get an idea of kind of what the process is going to be like, since we're going to be opening up in just over a month for proposals, and then it's just open that month of December.
As far as food goes, one of the things we learned is people don't like root beer. We bought a 24-pack of root beer. 23 of them are upstairs in the fridge here at the Knuckles office, because the people at Pueblo didn't want it. Their attitude towards the root beer was, get that stuff out of here. So Robin and I have actually talked about having, at a staff meeting, buying a gallon of vanilla ice cream and having root beer floats at a staff meeting. So that's the plan for using that up.
Christopher Brannon is not here, but he was the one that was hoping for Dr. Pepper, which was very well received.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't bring any of that back. Pueblo wanted to keep the Dr. Pepper, so the leftover Dr. Pepper.
I got slides from almost everyone that I asked for slides from who have them, and most of the recordings and a lot of the slides are up on the website page now, and I'm going to finish updating the slides, and there's like 2 recordings I couldn't find yet. But
And I'm working on getting the videos from the main room downloaded to upload back up to YouTube from here.
okay, yeah, and it looks like most of them are up. I can send you the 2 that I couldn't find.
Yeah, if you send me
Actually, no.
information about the 2 that you couldn't find, I can. Because I don't think you have access to any of the ones that Knuckles recorded, did you?
Yeah, I think because you also streamed them live on YouTube.
Okay.
But I just sent you in the Slack too the 2 I couldn't find. So everything else is posted except those 2 for the recordings.
Okay.
You'll be getting one more document from me, Lizette, the installation script, if you will. So you've already got my slides. I'm putting the finishing touches on that. So you'll get that for posting not only on the conference website, but also the Learn from koha-US one to replace the document that's there currently.
Sounds good.
Anything else about conference wrap-up?
I stuck a link to that page that Lizette's talking about in the chat because I hadn't seen it yet. So
Okay.
for everyone.
George, I don't know, since we posted these directly to YouTube, the videos that were recorded, we were going to embed them on the Bywater site too, because most of us who presented wrote a little blog post about what we presented on. And when we embed the video, we get a, watch this video on YouTube, playback on other websites has been disabled.
Okay.
Can we
I'll
turn
look
that
into
on
that.
or, okay, thanks so much. Thank you.
I'll figure out how to make it so that they can be embedded. That shouldn't be hard.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hello, Christopher. Next up is board elections, call for nominations. So this is part of the bylaws. Where are the bylaws? Let me dig that up real quick. Bylaws. Board elections. So during the final quarter of each year, we will announce that we're accepting nominations for officer positions. And so we have a form that we'll put on the website today and allow anybody to nominate themselves or nominate somebody else. Just a form to fill out if you want to be a nominee. So we'll post this, and then at the November meeting, we'll announce who the nominees are, and then we'll do the election through online voting like we did last year. That's the plan. So is anybody interested in throwing their hat into the ring? Look at all those hands. It's the people that don't have the video that turned on are the ones that are going like this right now. So we'll, in addition to announcing that here, we'll send out an email to all the members. You have to be a member in good standing to be nominated. So in good standing means you have to be a member that's paid their annual membership dues. Anything else I'm forgetting there?
Is anyone here from an unsupported library who would like to be unsupported member at large?
Yes, Fred's term is over, and I believe Jason's term is over too. So we need to elect a vice president who will become the president. Vice president in 2020 becomes the president in 2021. We need to elect a member at large from an unsupported library, which the only people from unsupported libraries I see here are Fred and John already has a job. So Fred has reached the term limit of being a member from an unsupported library. He's been doing this for as
3
long
years.
as we've had officers, yeah. And Jason has reached the end of his time, or has reached the end of his term as secretary, so I don't know if he's going to run again, but if anybody wants to run for, if anybody wants to be the secretary, it would be so cool to have like a contested race.
Yeah, we could put smear ads out. It'll be fun.
So I think those are all the positions that need to be elected: vice president, secretary, member at large, unsupported. And the member at large, unsupported, we wrote the bylaws in such a way that if nobody runs, that position can be vacant.
So Adam just met a library at the Iowa Library annual conference. It's West Liberty Public Library in Iowa, and they are unsupported, and they were the second library in the United States to start using Koha. So maybe we can reach out to them and say, hey, would you be interested in joining koha-US? I'd be willing to do it.
I mean, regardless of whether or not they take that position, we should invite them to join koha-US.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Well,
yeah,
I'll take initiative and do it.
Okay.
Let me see. Actually, they were written. They were one of the libraries written during the mass mailing, and we did not get a response from them. Let's see. There's a big worksheet.
I've got to ask, John, where are you?
I'm at home, but they have this new feature that allows you to set a background picture. So I did.
Okay.
And we're looking at Sun Point from Glacier National Park.
Okay. I have not experimented with this new feature.
I'm like, well, everybody's seen my living room, actually my dining room. That's boring. Let's show something exciting.
All right. So Jesse will reach out to West Liberty in Iowa. Anything else we need to talk about for call for nominations? So the actual election, we'll announce the election at the next meeting with whatever officers are, whatever candidates are nominated. And then I think we did the voting last year for 2 weeks, and then we announced at the December meeting, right? Was that the way it worked?
I think it's a 1 week, like we've got the voting procedures in the bylaws. So we announce it at the meeting, windows open for 1 week. And then in December, we announce and transition to the new officers. So I think it's just a 1 week window for voting.
Okay. I don't see that. You know, I'm looking at Article 3 in the bylaws right now, and I don't actually see that there, but I'm sure.
It's in a different section. I can find it for you. While
Okay.
we move on, I'll link it when I find it.
Well, I was trying to convince Robin to run for unsupported, but it turns out they're supported by Bywater. But I'd like to say hi to Robin publicly. New York Academy of Medicine.
Oh, okay.
So another medical-related library.
Wow.
Hello.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, Robin.
Nice to meet everyone. This is my first time here, so.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try not to scare her away.
All right, what's next then? Regional state groups. We've got that page set up. We haven't, we've added, let me find it, koha-US.org/regional, I think is where
Put it in the chat. Regional will direct also to this one that's
right.
regional-koha-users-groups. We've got the Kansas Explorers group, a little bit information about Michigan, or more information about Michigan coming soon. And for Texas, we put information on the Koha North Texas user group. They've got a Google group that we helped them set up, and they have a meeting like next 2 weeks from now in McKinney. And so we have some information about that up on this page and also the main page, and we put it on our calendar. So it shows up there if people are looking for it.
So if anybody else is planning a users group, this is the kind of stuff we can do to help. We set up the Google group for them so that they've got one mailing list for everybody, and we set it up so that they can add their own members. Ed is like one of the curators of that group. So it's pretty simple, but if anybody wants to set up a regional users group, this is the kind of help that we can offer. I don't know if there was anything else we were going to talk about with that.
No, Christopher Brannon mentioned in the chat that INLG is an unofficial user group. We have one up here in North Idaho.
Right.
That is just our consortium and Christopher's consortium right now.
I think if the other group in Idaho joins, you guys could really, yeah, you'd have an excuse to go to Boise once a year.
Yeah.
Or have meetings like these more often than, because there's like CIN and Valnet and the law library, and
Boise.
There's going to be a few, yeah. All right, what's next on the agenda is conference or committee reports. So, oh, and Jason posted the voting procedures, Article 2, Section 6 in the chat. So at least 1 week notice, at least 1 week for voting, so we can have, we could leave it open for 2 weeks if we wanted. We have flexibility there, so, but it has to be open for at least a week. Cool. So committee reports, conference committee.
We're meeting after this one. I don't think any of the committees have actually met since Pueblo.
Since Pueblo. The development committee then.
We met at Pueblo and helped people sign off on bugs.
Cool. There is the development that we're talking about funding. I talked to my boss and we can do $250 on that, but I need to see, I need to be added to the ticket. Somebody needs to ask Bywater to add me to that ticket.
Do you know what it is off the top of your head? I can go in and look.
Christopher might know. And I think it looks like he's looking and he just put up a 1 minute sign on his finger.
Okay.
So if he can send you that and I can get added to it, then I can confirm that that Nichols will add $250 to support.
You got it.
That development.
Jesse, can you add vice president to that as well?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else from the development committee?
Nope, that's all.
So that is the plan, is that we're going to fund the development. koha-US will put $500 into the development for changing the notification that displays on the screen when an item has an item-specific hold on it. Instead of item-specific hold for patron information, it'll just say has an item-specific hold. So that information will still be there, but it won't be as confusing and misleading as tying it to a specific patron. So next, Education Committee. We met at the conference. Any report from that group?
Not yet. We're going to reschedule next week's meeting to Tuesday at the same time, 11:30 p.m., 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We aren't meeting at p.m., believe me. I'll be on my way to Utah for the summit on Wednesday, so
okay.
We're going to move it to Tuesday, and we'll email the list.
Okay, sounds good. Fundraising committee, anything from that, Todd?
Nothing currently, just I did receive an email from Amazon for Amazon Smile. John, maybe you've got those records. I was looking at the email and I don't know what happened. I might have accidentally deleted it, but I'm not finding it. But it seems like since we've started and people have signed up with Google Smile or Amazon Smiles, that we've raised in excess of $900 some odd. And I think currently this year we're like 170 something. Jesse, you're nodding your head, so I'm thinking
I got the same email. Yeah, I got
cool.
the same email.
Can you give us the numbers?
I do. It said, this is your quarterly Amazon Smile donation notification. Your charity, koha-US, recently received a quarterly donation of $157.61. Up to date, we've donated $962.16 to koha-US. That came this morning, so I got the same email, Todd.
Cool.
I don't know why I'm not finding it, but I thought that was really good news for us. I'm hoping, John, it's reflected somewhere with your finances.
It is. It's actually an income line item. We were hoping to receive about $450 this year. Through 3 quarters of this year, that is to say through the donation that we received in August, we are just over $450 actually. So we're looking quite good for this year as a result. The next donation, since they're quarterly, will be received about mid-November. So you won't see that reflected in any reporting until the December report. But we expect it's coming, and every quarter we get gives us more solid footing on which we can base an estimate for that when the budget is put together.
So I think that's pretty good news anyways, so far as fundraising goes. I know that there's a handful of us in this meeting, but just think if you take that back to your staff and you tell them, hey, make sure that you register with Amazon Smiles, and if you make any purchases, do that through Amazon Smiles. I mean, we can really start to increase that number. I think that's a great way for us to earn some money.
I'm on the board of another nonprofit, and at our most recent board meeting there, they were very proud to report that the totality of their Amazon Smile donations was $52. So I didn't have the heart to tell them what we make through Amazon Smile.
Well, it might encourage them.
I feel bad for not buying. I haven't bought anything from Amazon, I don't think, in the last year. So I feel bad now. I should buy something from Amazon.
Get in there and contribute, George.
Yeah.
I've probably bought enough for both of us.
All right. I'm piggybacking on Fred's donation. Anything else from fundraising time?
No, I'll be sending out an email to the folks in the fundraising committees, see if we can get together towards the end of the month, and that's about it.
Cool. Well, the next up is John.
We're looking good. If you're taking a look at the October committee, you'll note that as of the end of September, we actually had 75 members in good standing. We are actually now at 76, and I don't think we'll get any more this year, but when we got over 70, I was secretly hoping for 75, and we've passed that even by one, so that's looking quite good. You'll see that it looks like we have a lot of money right now, and that's because we do. All of the income from the conference has been received, with one exception. Money related to conference expenses has been paid, but you don't really see that reflected here yet because a number of payments have gone out after the close of September because of when I set the close for conference receipts. The committee, the conference committee, will get a little bit more of a greater detail when we have the conference committee meeting a little bit later on. And we are now at that time of year where it's time to start thinking about next year's budget. So this is the reminder to the board that if there are things that we should be taking over in expense, like a Zoom room or other things that are currently being provided very graciously by our employing institutions, that is information that should be directed to me with a little bit of research and not just, I think it's this, so that I can put together a budget for presentation to the board first at the December board meeting and then generally at the December general meeting. Memberships, since everybody is on a calendar year membership, it's also time to start thinking about how we're going to handle that. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the November meeting with something in place to review by the end of November. And let's see, we already know about Threadless. We talked about Threadless last month, but we earned $97, and that's $97 free and clear. There's no PayPal service fee taken out of that from the purchases that were made at threadless.com that were not board-specific purchases for handling by the board, which would include the thank you gifts to Pueblo, as well as the door prizes, which were not considered purchases that would have triggered a donation. And then also next month will be the third quarter summary report that'll give everybody a greater idea of how we're doing quarter to quarter. You may recall that this is a new thing that I've started this year to give these quarterly updates. And so the first one was actually just a few months ago. So next month will be the second of these. So that's what's going on with Finance Committee. One other thing, I do have an interested party for I've always wanted 3 on the board. I've never had, on the Finance Committee rather, I've never had 3. I'll be reaching out to the person that indicated interest while they were at Pueblo. So with any luck, hopefully I'll have a 3rd person on the Finance Committee by next month.
Cool. Always a good report. Thanks, John. So that takes us into open discussion. Anybody got anything they want to complain about? Any bugs happening? Actually, let me hop over to Micah. Isn't here, but she in the Slack channel, and Bywater Slack channel, she mentioned this bug that I'm posting in the chat right now. that has to do with authorities. And she was hoping some people could make some comments on that bug and see if it could get pushed up to a higher priority. It has to do with authorities. When you're using generated authority files, there's a problem with the indicators not saving correctly. And so I don't know if anybody else has experienced that. I don't know who's using authorities.
I don't use authorities, but this would be enough to piss me off, I will just say.
Let's see. System-generated authority records, when they get saved, it doesn't save the indicators. And I don't know if there's a specific heading where it's not saving the indicators, but I'll get bugs at koha-US.org CC'd on that, so they'll appear in our list of bugs. And I can actually, let me go over to here, let me just post this in the chat. That's the page where all the bugs that we've been tracking is koha-US.org/bugs. And there's a RSS feed there of all the bugs that we've been talking about at these meetings. So I'll make sure that that bug gets added to this list there. But the RSS feed only shows 20. We've actually probably got like about 25, but there's a link there that if you click on it, it'll take you to Bugzilla and it'll show you all the ones. 36 that koha-US is tracking. And I can put that link in here too. Maybe. There we go. So that'll show you the bugs that koha-US is tracking, and that second enormous link there that just took up the entire chat box. Is there anything else people are having issues with?
I got one.
Okay.
So I discovered we have a few super librarian accounts that are not been assigned by super librarians. So in testing it, anybody that has permissions to set staff permissions is able to apply super librarian permissions. So I found an adult patron that had that permission, a couple other staff accounts that shouldn't have had that. So I don't have a bug number because we just discovered it. So the solution right now is they're going to whitelist our super librarian accounts like Jason and you, George. So when you're logged in, you'll be able to, it will essentially obscure the set permissions button in the drop down on the patron details page. So yeah, I've tested it, and anybody that has the ability to set staff permissions can assign super librarian permission. That's a little bit of a problem. So
yeah, I've been aware of that for a long time, and I think there is a bug already out there for it.
Well, they were going to look into it. So for us, the answer is just to take away that, hide the ability to even set permission. So
yeah.
So
yeah, that's the way that we've done it. Like literally the only people who can set any permissions at all are super librarians. Like no one else has that authority. So
well, we just thought, you know, that they have to set permissions for their staff, fine. But if they're not a super librarian, they shouldn't be able to set that. But I go back and find it, and it's crazy. And a little history with us. In 2015, someone deleted the entire patron catalog. Or the database. So all of our patrons, they did that. They were trying to use the, you know, remove expired patron, you know, tool. And so everybody got wiped out. Now, the good news was all the circ histories were obliterated, but Bywater was able to restore all of the patrons. So there's that. And then, you know, there's just a lot of really scary things that can happen when you have that cape of super librarian.
Yeah,
so
we did a permissions audit last fall, and and I can't remember if we used, if this is SQL that I pulled from the wiki, or if this is something that that I put together. Let's be honest. But I might be a combination of the two, but I'll make sure that if it isn't something that I pulled from the wiki, that I put it up there, because it was really helpful. We were just looking at like 1 or 2 permissions, but it was really helpful to see all together in one list who has what permissions.
That'd be awesome.
I'm the only one assigning permissions. Like if we hire new staff on, they're using their branch accounts for most things, but if they are in a position where they need to log in, whether they're a selector, whatever, as themselves and do something, then it's just, hey, you need to tell me your barcode and what permissions you need, and then I'll make it work. But then that's how we've dealt with it. But I'll make sure that the permissions audit stuff is in the wiki so that you can
that'd be great.
Use that. Yeah.
Well, and then Jason shared with me what Christopher made, the pre-populated permissions that so when you go in to set that, the director, the cataloger, and the staff, and we're going to implement that so it is an easy button for us. Yeah. It's cool. It's a really cool thing. And so that's what I've been doing this week.
So I've been using the same jQuery that Christopher has that lets you easily populate all of those permissions. I'm not sure how it's going to work in 1905 because there's a change to the way the permissions are. There's a whole change to that interface in 1905.
Okay. So Jesse put in the chat, and I was looking for the same thing. There's a system preference that was added in 1805, protect superlibrarian privileges, that either only allows superlibrarians to change access superlibrarian privileges, or allows anyone that has the permissions flag to.
I'll look at it.
So it might, and I think it was default set to allow all because that's what it was before. And so, like, we actually took that. We used to use the jQuery that kept people from changing the superlibrarian flag unless you went in and disabled the jQuery. And so,
I'm gonna look here.
We took that out because we can just change it in the settings now.
Well, I was working with Liz and Margaret, and they didn't think of that, but I'll look see if I have that, because that's scary. But anyway, I do like having a white list of just those super librarians that can just getting rid of that whole set permissions button. I mean, get rid of it. It doesn't even, they don't need to be doing that. So, and we have a consortium. I'm like George and Jason, where we've got, little 54 independent branches who want to do their own thing. And that's sometimes not good. So that's all. That's what's going on in my system.
Margie, yours is set to allow all permitted users. So maybe change that.
I'm going to change it.
Yeah. And see if that'll help.
I will do that. Why would that be? That should be the other way. You should
totally be the other way.
Yeah.
Is there a way that can?
Yeah.
I'm gonna email Bywater staff and see if when we.
Okay.
Well, I'll talk to staff and see what we can do on the back end.
I will update my ticket to point that out to those two to let them know that we talked about this. Okay. Good. Glad I brought it up.
And I did add, there are several there are several reports on the wiki that will show you who has permissions and what permissions they have.
Yeah.
And so I just added a link to one of those, and I think to the chat, and then Jason just added Christopher's permission buttons jQuery, because it really speeds things up when you tell the jQuery which permission, like you say, you create a button that says director.
Yeah.
And then you just click that button and it fills in all those permissions. Like I said, though, I'm not sure the changes to the interface in 1905 might require some changes to that jQuery. Because when I put 1905 on a virtual box the other day, and that was one of the things I noticed, is that the whole interface is completely different.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure what kind of changes there might have been to the page that'll make changes to that jQuery necessary.
All right. Well, that was easy to throw that switch, but I still don't even want them to go there. They don't need to set permissions. they don't even know what most of them are, and so then
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have very long now, huh, Margie?
No, I don't. However, they're trying to work some magic to see. I don't know.
You're not working.
No one's applied. Yeah, I said, well, I wouldn't apply for my job either after I read the job description. So I don't know if they were loading that on purpose or whatever, but we'll see.
You still moving on your timeline, or are you going to stick around according to their timeline?
Well, we close on our new house in October, and then that old house we close in December. So I'm trying to be a good steward and stay as long as I can. So and help them a lot. But I did actually get offered a position for the University of Kansas Medical Center, being the Kansas coordinator for the National Institutes of Health and the National Network of the Library of Medicine. So we'll see. I'm thinking it over because it's federally funded and I'm a little scared of that. So anyway.
Have you let people in this organization know that there's a job available at Central?
Gail just asked me to post that today, so I will put it out and you can put it up there. But I said, well, it'd be kind of weird coming from me. It's my job. I'm posting my own job. But yeah, we'll do that and see. I did tell her she needs to pare it down a bit though. So
my predecessor posted my job description, the ad for my job.
Oh.
So
having people on the medical librarians listserv do it all the time.
Yeah, I'll do it. That's on my to-do today. So
okay.
All right.
So anybody out there interested in moving to Kansas, look for Margie's job posting later today.
Great Ben. Great Ben. So I do use Amazon. But I can be in Lawrence in 3 hours. So there we go.
Any other things that anybody wants to talk about? Any other bugs or any other issues?
I was just going to mention I do have 1905 running on my test server, and I have the jQuery in there. So the permissions collapse down now, but if you show them all, then the buttons still work. So the buttons probably just need move outside of that to still work.
Okay.
It's just going to be a minor tweak to maintain that.
I did like the way the interface has changed. I did like the way that it looks. Made it a lot. Made sense to do it that way.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner. I guess if we're not talking about anything else, I can show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh my gosh, I have so many screens. Can you see this one with the blue and the skulls? Okay, so this is what the permission screen looks like when I open it up, and you can see the buttons are down there. And when I click them, it expands it. So it still works. It's just a little janky right now. If you show all, then it goes back to the way it was.
Right. So the buttons just
need some positioning work. I think that's probably it.
But they don't work if everything's collapsed?
They still work. Like if I hit set circulation right now, it fills in and uncollapses. So it's not that bad. It just needs moved up.
Cool.
This is a great thing, though. I'm going to put this on our side because I've had it on the test side, and it's so nice. So, way to go, you guys.
Maybe that's something. Does anybody want to talk about? A lot of us are Bywater customers, and we're going to be upgrading soon. Does anybody have any fears or concerns over the upgrade to 1905?
I'm scared of the I talked with Margaret a little bit, the cert control versus the reserves control thing. I think that may affect how we do our new item sharing. So I need to play around with that. Andrew warned us about that at the conference as well. How the behavior is changing from home library to items library or something like that. The toggle is changing. It doesn't work right now, but it'll work right after the upgrade. But we've been relying on it working wrong, I think.
Okay.
So I need to play around with that.
be sure to attend the trainings. Make sure you're registered.
Those are probably on your website. I need to register still, but
it was sent out the other day too. Everybody should have that in their email.
Well, and there was already a cataloging preview that got put out as well. We're really excited for rental fees based on time period, because it will definitely, we circulate hotspots and charge per week of hotspots. And right now it's a really cumbersome process to do that based on the way rental fees currently work. So with rental fees based on time period, we'll be able to just do one checkout, change the date, hit the button, and it automatically will calculate the proper amount to charge the patron. So we are stoked about that. So if you ever thought about circulating hotspots, do it this way. It's a lot easier than the way we've been doing it for several years.
I'm excited that they added some enhancements for the cataloging logs, so that it's not registering all the check-ins and check-outs. It's made it difficult to keep that log on in production.
That was the last version, right? That some of that changed.
Was it?
Yeah, because I've already got the catalog logs turned on in our system.
Oh, well, I didn't even notice. I just saw it in the notes for this version.
Okay. I'm trying to find, well, Jesse and Todd are both here. Do either of you have a link to, Jesse already posted it in the chat. There's the link to the webinar schedule. Thank you. So that's coming up the beginning of November. They'll be doing the webinars. The What's New webinar. The one I always hate is the cataloging one because I'm not a cataloger. And so last time I actually didn't attend it, I just watched the recording and I sped it up on YouTube. I watched it at like 1.5 and I still had trouble keeping my eyes open through the whole thing.
I cry for you, George. I cry for you.
I dislike it for other reasons, because anytime something changes in cataloging, the sky is literally falling.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that they gave that preview of the interface change, because that's going to be a big deal. Even though it's not, it's going to be a big deal. So
I sent a link of that to all of our member libraries just to pave the way. Just to change is coming. Here's what it's going to look like. So they've got a little while to get used to the fact that it's going to look different before it actually starts to look different.
Can I still edit my records and mark edit and upload them and just avoid cataloging entirely, the module?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
you don't have to worry about that at all. It's just changing the look of the interface in Koha. That's really what it is it's just a change to how it looks. And catalogers are just really resistant to change, is my experience. They get used to doing something the same way. In all fairness, I've known catalogers that'll catalog, like 400 or 500 books in a month. And so they develop, a system of what they're doing. And if you do anything to throw that off, they're going to freak out because that's just, it's interrupting their workflow. So any change in the way something looks, that's, you might as well be stabbing them in the heart.
I'm curious what others might have sort of like waiting in the queue for the generate and send custom notices based on a report. The only way that we've currently thought about using that is by letting patrons whose accounts are expiring within the next 30 days, giving them a little heads up, say, hey, maybe come visit us and get this renewed. But I'm curious as to what other people might be brainstorming for that use.
There's a notice that does that.
Is there?
Yes.
Because I was told to wait for this. So.
No, I can't remember right now what it's called. But it's
there is a notice
expiry.
like account expiry or something like that. There's a system preference attached to it.
Yeah, this is the system preference. And then the notice.
Maybe it's how often it goes. Does it go?
It goes based on how many days before the account expires. So it depends. We have ours set up to go 45 days, I think, before the account expires.
So now I'm wondering, oh no, that's not what it was. I'm sorry. We're going to use it for that just so that, but it was, God, what was it? I think it was like account balance reminders. Maybe that was it.
Oh, okay.
I've got too many things like, hey, and it was something that was requested when we turned PayPal on. I'm remembering now. It was just like, could you send me a reminder when I get to a certain level? Because, you check out 5 kids books and before you know it, you've got crazy fines. So I think that's what we're going to use it for. But thank you for reminding me or telling me about this because I did not know that this already existed.
No problem.
I know we use it, but I don't see it. Oh, here it is. Membership expiry is the name of the notice.
I found the notice, but I don't think we've got it. I don't think we've got it turned on.
Yeah, and then
there's a corresponding system preference.
Membership expiry days notice. I put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then there's a cron that sends it out. So if you do turn it on, just let us know and we'll make sure that it's set.
Yeah, it looks like we don't have it turned on. So we'll probably play with, especially using the wonderful test notices thing that's coming, we'll probably play with which one we like better. Because we also have things like online patron registrations are supposed to come in within 30 days to fix their, get their account established. And right now we don't have a way of reminding them, hey, you haven't done this yet. So we might use it for that, and then this for the other one.
I don't know, as far as the new feature you're talking about, that's where you create a report and then it uses the report to send an email, right?
Yeah, it's, send this, what is it? It is, it's bug number 16149. Enhancement adds a cron job, which will take a report ID and notice code to be used to send custom emails to users generated from report content. Notices will be able to use any and only columns included in the report in the notice templates. User email addresses can be specified in the report as well as the from address for the email. And they're defined using template toolkit.
Cool, I wasn't aware of that new feature. I'm not sure what we would use it for. But now I've got something new to think about.
We have kind of like a convoluted collections process where Koha sends the first 3 overdue notices and then we send 2 more threatening emails after that. So I think that this could be used for that, to send additional overdues after the pre-generated ones.
So the threatening notice feature.
The shake your fist violently at the air feature.
Yelling into the void feature?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a little bit too pessimistic.
Yeah, our residents can't check out without returning all their books and settling all fines.
Cool, I'll have to look at this. Another way that I can imagine it being used is, we have libraries that we have an extended patron attribute for whether or not they want to receive email, like an email newsletter from the library. And so I could create a report that says these are the patrons of this library that have said yes, send me email newsletters, and then build a report that would make it easier for the libraries to send that directly from Koha, instead of right now what a lot of them are doing is they run that and then they generate that gets them their list of emails that they put into like MailChimp or something like that. So this would take a step out of that process.
Do you also use online reg for your patrons, or do you?
We're not using that right now because we have 51 libraries, and some of them would like to use something like that, and some of them wouldn't. And
I asked because I don't know, because our PR people have wanted something like this, like an opt-in button, and right now it's separate from online reg, and I'm not sure. I don't know if we can add the extended patron attribute into the online reg form to allow new users to opt in right there or not.
That I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Especially since we're not using it. But I think there is some functionality now to make it so the online registration form can be established on a library-by-library basis. But it's not something I've explored yet because other things are of a higher priority right now for us.
I know you can limit what branch they can choose. So like we don't allow people when they do online reg, they can't pick Outreach or Bookmobile,
right,
as a sign-on library. So if there's only one branch that wants to use it, or
right.
if the 3 branches that decide they want to use it all, agree on the same fields, you can do that now.
Yeah.
Just limit it.
Yeah, I just haven't explored that because I haven't. I don't know exactly which libraries want to use it and which ones don't, because that was a discussion a couple of years ago. So.
Gotcha.
Anything else people want to talk about? Well, it's 11:29 by my computer, so we could finish a minute early. Or we could discuss finishing a minute early for a minute and then finish on time.
Well, I think sometimes finishing early can be quite beneficial, and I'm glad you brought this up so we can discuss it.
All right, well, for those of you that are sticking around for the conference committee meeting, we'll reconvene in about a half a minute. And for those of you that are taking off, it's good to see you all, and get your nominations in, and we look forward to a new set of officers coming up soon. See you all later.